Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. This past week, there was a famous photo released to the public, finally, after 32 years of what's known as the Calvine UFO. Apparently, in 1990, August, in Scotland, two young chefs, on the Scottish Highlands, took several pictures of a craft that is unearthly in appearance. And for all these years, the Ministry of Defense and also the National Archives over there in the UK have they did not want this to get out to the public. And then finally, UFO researcher David Clarke, who has written a big article about this, contacted a person who was a former Royal Air Force officer, Craig Lindsay, and Mr. Lindsay had provided him with one of the photographs of this object, and Mr. Clarke has written about this in an article which I will provide here. I think you should read it. It's very interesting, and it's the link. I'll leave the link in the description. It's from Mail Plus, and it seems like the Twitter's been all abuzz the last couple of days about this, and I'm just going to read a little bit of his article, but it's a pretty lengthy article, and I just want to point some things out here. But anyway, the headline reads, "Revealed after 32 years, the top secret picture one Ministry of Defense insider calls the most spectacular UFO photo ever captured." So, on August 4th, 1990, two young men were working as chefs in a hotel in Pitlochry, a beautiful Highland Perthshire town just outside the Cairngorms National Park in Scotland. At 9 p.m., after a long day in a hot kitchen, they drove about 13 miles north along the A9 to Calvine, a spot on the edge of the Cairngorms, for a walk in the hills. They hadn't gone far when they saw a huge, solid, diamond-shaped object, about 100 foot long, hovering silently in the sky above them. Terrified, they hid in some bushes and looked up. Minutes later, they heard the scream of a jet aircraft going north. In 1990, Royal Air Force Lashars in Fife had two squadrons of Tornado fighters on 24-hour standby to intercept Russian intruder aircraft. The jet came back and circled the thing before heading off on its original course, as if the pilot had seen the object too and had come back for a closer look. Eventually, the two men stuck their camera out from where they were hiding and fired off 6 frames. At that point, the object shot vertically upwards and disappeared way up in the sky. Convinced they'd just seen a UFO, they took their photos to the Daily Record, one of Scotland's leading newspapers, but no story was ever printed. The paper passed the pictures on to the Ministry of Defense, and then the photographs simply vanished, along with the two young chefs. Until now. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to give you some ideas about what it says here. But basically, the Ministry of Defense and the National Archives over there want to keep this. We're intending to keep these images secret for another 54 years, according to Clarke, until the year 2076. And also, the names of the two young chefs who saw this thing with their own eyeballs. They wanted to keep those names out of the public for privacy concerns. Now, Clarke has been very interested in this. He's a university lecturer, and he's also a UFO investigator according to him, for 3 decades now. And this is one of the holy grails of ufology that him and many others have sought after. So he actually tracked down this former Royal Air Force officer, Craig Lindsay, who actually kept a copy of the photo and handed it over to him, let him see it. He kept it in his desk for all these years, and now it's out in the public. I guess we're still not going to get the names of the two witnesses who were there to take the pictures, and I guess there were other pictures taken we don't have, but there is this one image here that we do have, and it's really nice to be able to see this. I think it is a spectacular picture. I mean, I think it's debatable as to whether it's the best picture ever taken of a UFO. I mean, it's most certainly interesting. That most certainly. And what's interesting here is that what I find interesting about Clarke, I mean, this guy's been investigating UFOs for 30 years, and yet he says, he says in his piece here that, he doesn't believe in that there are extraterrestrials here on this planet, which I find strange, because anybody who's researched this subject and read enough books and done the research, I don't know how you could come to that conclusion. The conclusion that they're likely not here. I mean, that's basically you're operating on the assumption that all these hundreds, millions of people are lying. Are just lying about their experiences, and a lot of them who actually, saw these beings face to face. And, I just don't get that. I don't understand it, but, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, really, I don't see how anyone could be a UFO researcher and not come to the conclusion that these some of these UFOs, not all, of course, not all UFOs, right? But some of these things, flying saucers in general, and this possibly this diamond-shaped object could be extraterrestrial spacecraft, and sometimes they are. Now I'm not saying definitively that this object here is alien spacecraft, but he's saying overall, as far as he's concerned, that he doesn't believe in that. And what I find interesting is that he actually states here, like he doesn't fancy. He's not a UFO. He's not a conspiracy theorist. Like he doesn't fancy himself as a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. And then toward the end of his article, he writes, I remain open-minded about the possibility that intelligent life exists elsewhere in the universe, but I remain unconvinced that it has ever visited Earth. The Calvine photograph is, in my opinion, the best image showing an unidentified flying object ever taken. But as Dr. J. Allen Hynek, consultant to the United States Air Force's former UFO Project Blue Book, once said, unidentified to whom? Okay, well, yeah. Like in his mind, I think what Clarke's basically stating here is that he thinks it could be some top secret craft that was being tested out there in Scotland. And that's fine, I guess. Could be, I guess. But let's consider this. For one thing, the thing flew straight up in the air, according to two witnesses. Okay, now I don't think we have anything that's I don't think we had anything back in 1990, particularly, that did stuff like that. And besides that these things before 1990, as we all well know, since 1947, a lot of people have been seeing these things, and we know for a fact, and we all know. I mean, it's just common sense. Nobody in the world, no human being anyway, had any objects that could, just hover in place and then fly straight up and at ridiculous speeds and disappear. We just don't have that kind of technology. And again, according to the two witnesses, according to the story here, the thing was silent, absolutely silent. I mean, but okay, so Clarke is not a conspiracy theorist, but yeah, I think you are a little bit. If you're thinking that it's some top secret government program, then it is a conspiracy, right? It's a conspiracy to keep it quiet. It's a conspiracy to keep it quiet for 30 years. I mean, you're actually, you are a conspiracy theorist in a different sense. You don't think that the government's covering up extraterrestrials coming here, but at the same time, you think that they're covering up top secret military programs, like maybe this thing here. But I think it's also debatable to call this the best picture ever of a UFO. I don't know about that, because let's consider we don't have access to the two chefs to give us the rest of the story. Usually, you look at some of the famous UFO pictures. Like the two McMinnville photos from 1950 that were taken by Mr. Paul Trenton and his wife was there. They were the witnesses to this thing. They saw this thing, and the Trents went on to the rest of their lives saying, "Hey, it was real." They went to their graves saying that no, what we saw was real. Then there was Rex Heflin in 1965 took like 3 pictures of a flying saucer, and for the rest of his life, he talked about this, and so to me, there are better images because we have we have the actual people who took the pictures to corroborate what happened, to give us the story. Now, we do have a story here, but it would be better if we had the actual 2 chefs that took the picture to talk about this publicly. Man, maybe they will now. Maybe the Ministry of Defense was, what are you going to do? I mean, then again, though, maybe they just don't. I mean, if it's for privacy concerns and they don't want their names made public, okay, well, and they don't want to be bothered, Maybe we won't ever hear from them, but it'd be nice to hear from them. I mean, because if this thing was hovering silently like this big giant diamond-shaped object, as you can see in this picture, if it's hovering silently like that and then shot straight up in the air, I'm not sure about the military program. I mean, okay, well, this is 32 years later. Do we have stuff like that? I don't see us flying around with anything like that. I don't see anybody flying around with things like that. It could be extraterrestrial. I mean, I see a lot of people on Twitter and stuff like, could be a top secret military program. Or, of course, Mick West, of course, the big debunker, the top debunker of our age right now, it seems. His first reaction, right when this story broke, his first reaction was, it's a military kite. Right, but then he took that back. No, that's not a military kite. Then now he's trying to propagate some story that it's actually some object out in water and it's reflected. But the problem is, if you saw where the picture was taken, there is no water. It was taken over ground. It was all rolling hills. I mean, it's just there's no water there, so it's not a reflection. But of course, see, none of those people, Mick West. Well, I don't know what Mick West believes. I don't know what he's up to. But I know his followers. They go to him. They turn to him. Okay, Mick, another UFO picture. Hurry up! Tell us it's fake. Tell us how it's fake. I think these people go to bed at night, right, praying. Oh my God, please, God, please. Oh my God, please not that. Please make the extraterrestrial hypothesis be not real. Please make the extraterrestrial hypothesis not be real. Right, and then they go to their and in this religion that they've created for themselves, they go to their high priest Mick West to be calmed down and told, oh no, it's just a reflection or maybe a military kite. I mean, and of course, throughout this week, Mick's had a very interesting week. I mean, earlier in the week, he was pushing the theory that the aliens at the Ariel School back in 1994 were actually puppets, and traveling puppet show showed up and performed for the children without any adults knowing about it, and then hurried up and disappeared somehow. It was a completely preposterous story, and it's totally fake. I mean, it's just not real. It has no basis in reality. It was extraterrestrials. Yeah, I have a message, okay? I have a message for all of you people out there that don't believe in this. I'm telling you right now. There's something here, and it's not human, okay? I don't know what it is, right? Maybe it's not extraterrestrial, but for the time being, I'm using it as a placeholder until we find out. But these things are not human, okay? I'm telling you right now. And they're more advanced than we are. I'm telling you right now. I saw one of the craft in 1994, actually a month before the Ariel School. Plus I've encountered one of the beings, right? And believe me, this thing was not a human. So, I just don't get it. I don't get this, there's a big, like a fight to disbelieve this. Like there's an effort, a strong effort to make it seem like there's no way it's extraterrestrials. I mean, it's unbelievable, the stuff online. And that's why, this is the problem. There is a conspiracy. Okay, there's been a government conspiracy, and again, surprisingly, like they hear David Clarke saying he doesn't believe in conspiracies when he's, at the same time when he's saying that this is a top secret program. Well, then that means there is a conspiracy if that's what you believe. But I mean, as our UFO researcher, I'm sure that he had to look at the data, and if I can't see how anyone could study this over 3 decades and walk away not realizing that this is extraterrestrial. I mean, that's what it is. There's something here. I mean, we talk about this all the time on this podcast. There's something here. There's just too much evidence. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming at this point. Yeah, we can't, like, for the most part, you just can't go out. I mean, okay, say you're sleeping at night and you wake up in the next morning and you have a mosquito bite on you. You can't find the mosquito anywhere, right? But you have that bite on you, right? It's there. You just know that there's a mosquito bit you during that night, even though you can't find the mosquito, right? It's just the same situation. What's going on here, right? When I know right now that there's sharks swimming out in the Pacific Ocean somewhere. Just like I know that there's beings here somewhere doing something, up to something, hiding, doing things, abducting people, mutilating cow and taking their blood, removing the blood from their bodies. I know that's going on. I don't know what the whole purpose of their stay here is, but they're here. They're here because, and again, I benefit from having personal experiences. Okay, I have that going for me. So these people don't have that benefit. People like Mick West, people like David Clarke. I mean, I think if someone like David Clarke had seen the object that I had seen in 1994, he would not be talking like this. He would actually not be saying, I think there could be. I mean, actually, with all the planets out there, people like him and a lot of others, some people even have trouble stating that there's definitive. They have a problem saying that there's no question that there's life on other worlds. There's life on other worlds. There's no question. I mean, even if you don't believe in the extraterrestrial reality that there's a presence here on Earth, right? Even if you don't believe in that, there's life on other worlds. All right, there is most certainly. I mean, with it'd be scientifically impossible for there not to be. So with that said, and not only that, intelligent life. So, but some people even have trouble saying that. But he goes there a little bit, at the end of his piece here, but not totally. He thinks it's possible that there's life out there, but there is though, David. There is, because you know why there is? Because some of it's here. Some of it's here right now. I don't know what they're up to, but they're here. I know there's a lot of people who are having trouble with this. You need to get over it. I mean, you actually have the United States Pentagon right now coming forth and saying things that they never talked about before. They're actually meeting with members of Congress. Can't you see what's happening here? Can't you see it? They're talking now about transmedium objects. They're acknowledging it. So, yeah, it's time to take the blinders off. And I don't know. I don't get these. And on top of that, now I really appreciate. I want to say this. I really appreciate David Clarke's work on getting this Calvine picture. I highly recommend you check out this article. It's a great article that he's written. And thank you, David, for doing such a great job at doing with your research and getting this picture and getting it out to the public. That fantastic. So I really highly recommend everybody to read his great article here. I just don't agree with some of his conclusions. But on the flip side of that, then you have the Mick West stuff here. I mean, I don't know what. Wow. I mean, a lot of these people, I don't get it. You're basically on the wrong side of the history here with this. When it comes to this one, I'm telling you right now. If you're an acolyte of Mick West, if you're going to the Church of Mick West on a regular basis, and you think what he's providing with regard to the UFO phenomenon is great stuff, well, I'm sorry for you. I really am, because it's going to be proven wrong at some point. There's just no question. It's being proven wrong slowly as we speak. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no question. I mean, I have no question about it. But then again, I benefit from personal experience, and I've done my research. I've read the historical accounts. I've read the thousands of different reports that were filed by different military pilots throughout the decades. I've done all of that, so I know. I've read all the alien abduction stories. I've read about cattle mutilations. I just understand that there's something here. There's no question. It's the obvious answer. It's not the far-fetched answer. It's the obvious answer. So yeah, I just think. It's this Calvine thing it's nice to be able to, it's nice to finally see a pretty clear picture of this thing, a clear shot of this. Apparently there was something available before that you really couldn't see, but now we have a nice clear shot of this. It's nice to be able to have this and compare it with other UFO pictures. It's different than most saucer shaped. It's more like a diamond shape. And that's why I think, I guess there is a possibility it could be some military project, but I just don't think so. I mean, if the story that this thing was silent and then flew straight up in the air and then disappeared, to me, I just don't think that human beings have that technology, particularly back in 1990. We just didn't. We just didn't have that kind of technology. So I just don't know about that one. And then, of course, I just want to say this. The object that I saw that time in 1994, it made no sound. It had these 3 giant lights on it on the front of it. And, one thing I never really say about it, like I always talk about this experience, but the one thing I failed to say is that when this thing appeared, like it came toward, or we were on a fishing trip, me and a buddy in the middle of nowhere, it's fishing in this pond. I'm not going to get into the whole thing here, but just to make a long story short, the thing came from behind some trees, was only about 2.5 stories off the ground, floated right over to our position, stopped momentarily in the sky, and then floated backward in an opposite direction from where it came. And the whole time the lights were in front of us. There was no lights on the other side that we could see shining anyhow. And it was moving over the trees backwards. There's just, I can't see how there's no way that we have that kind of technology. We just don't, not especially in 1994. And I don't think there's no way we would have it right now. This thing was so close to the trees, right? And made no sound. And there were no lights. The lights were facing the other direction when it floated away from us and it hovered over the trees. We just don't have something like that, folks. We just don't. I'm telling you. There are things from other worlds here. And they're up to something.